Joining me on this first episode is actor of such iconic movies as Children of the Corn, The New Kids, Return of the Living Dead, Point Break, just to name a few. It's the legend. It's Mr. John Philbin. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great.
Was that a decent enough intro for you,
That
or?
was a beautiful intro. Are you kidding? A VHS icon?
Yeah, man.
That's classic. Those are the days, right? I have boxes of VHS tapes in my garage. I put in my dad's garage, and I came home one day to like transfer them. And he goes, "Oh, we threw those away." Like every
Oh,
movie I ever did was on VHS.
oh, awesome, mate. To be fair, I was going to ask you because, like, for my childhood, VHS, go to the video shop with my dad and all that kind of stuff. Weekend, was it the same for you? Was it like, weekends and just like loving film, like that period?
Oh yeah, my there a VHS shop opened across from when I was in Palos Verdes. I think I was in high school, and I wasn't a professional actor yet, obviously. And they opened one of those stores across the street from where I worked. I worked at a surf shop, and my dad and I, we got a membership, and we'd go and rent these things from this really nice Indian man. And it was fucking great, man. What a business. We're like, oh, you could rent this movie. It was so much fun. I loved it. And then when Blockbuster came around, by that time I was an actor. It was such a big deal to go into a Blockbuster, and rent your movies, that you were gonna
Oh
wanted
man.
to watch, for the weekend or something with your wife or whatever, but yeah, or by yourself. But yeah, it was fun.
Oh, mate, that's awesome. All right, so like obviously, growing up in California, I'm assuming. So, like as a kid, like you mentioned, there going to like the surf shop and all, was you literally? Is it just part of like the California lifestyle? You've got to hit the surf. It's like the beach surf. I mean, like obviously you're massive into surfing. As a UK guy, don't really know a lot about surfing, but I know that you are. So, but yeah, like is that it? So you gone from
No, it's
uh,
not for everybody.
yeah,
Even though I lived in a surf community, it wasn't a typical surf community, it was cliffs and rocks. It was kind of rugged and didn't break very often. But if you were drawn to that lifestyle of climbing, hiking down cliffs and crawling over rocks and going out into the ocean, when there's no one around, uh, then you got into it. Like it's not for everybody. A lot of people in my neighborhood, they're just like surfing just wasn't their thing at all. And that's a
okay,
Southern California iconic surf neighborhood. So surfing's not for everyone, and certainly not most Californians don't surf. It's a weird thing to do or to be able to do or to follow. It's a very small group. But when I do podcasts, my whole life is it's either going to be a surfing podcast or a horror movie
yeah.
podcast or a sobriety podcast. It's one of those three things. So I wasn't sure whether this was a surfing podcast or a horror convention podcast. Then I looked it up a little bit about you guys. So yeah, oh, this is movie. This is movies. This is about movies. VHS is a great title. But yeah, no, for me, surfing was my first true escape love thing that has stayed with me my entire life. I still do it. And
Yeah.
acting was the other one that I fell in love with in high school, at the same time. So I was like a really unusual combination of an actor, surfer. And I just got lucky in the 80s and the early 90s in my career where they made a couple of surf movies and I got to be in them. And that is for a kid that is all about surfing and then all about acting. Those two worlds came together for me a couple of times. And when that happens, life doesn't get any better than that.
Oh wow. I mean, like Point Break, for instance. Like there's obviously the scene where Keanu Reeves is learning to surf and is getting his ass kicked, and they're basically smashing him in the face, and he's like, "Yeah, you shouldn't be here. You're full of shit. Yeah, get the fuck out of the water, man." Is it as brutal as
Oh,
that? I
no,
mean,
it's much, it's much worse than that. But
really?
yeah, that's part of surfing. territorialism and localism is, hey, they just made a movie with Nick Cage, The Surfer. I haven't seen it, but it deals with that subject. Yeah, you think
Okay.
surfing's all like hippies and love and like peaceful hedonists, just like loving on each other, and but they
Yeah.
hate each other. Like I hate surfers because there's a limited resource out there of waves, and the more people come, and I'm 65 now, so like I want to go get these waves that there's 120-year-old kids that want that exact wave.
Shit.
And they, if it all came down to how fast someone could paddle, or how agile some person was, I'd never get a wave, So you have to somehow, claim your elders, for
Did-
So I look at it differently now. I've been surfing all my life. I've gone through all the stages. So now
Yeah.
I look at it as such a different thing. I'm lucky to be able to surf still. And I am a crowd hater. So I just try to find somewhere where I can go and have fun and not have to deal with, like you said, that hassle.
Right.
That is a part of the game in a crowded surf spot with limited resources. People fight for what they want. It's such a pleasant experience. I'm just not into that vibe. Everybody's does it for different reasons. I am not into that aggressive vibe. That's not why
Right.
I surf. There was a time in my life when I was an asshole and a dick about it, entitled, like arrogant, everything. Everybody hates surfers, right? They're so easy to hate. Like that guy's so dumb and uneducated and he thinks he's cool because he surfs. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But in the surfing world, people do care. They put meaning into how they invest their time. There's
Yeah.
places on the world where people can think that they're cool, or other people might think someone's cool because of how they surf. I know that's just ludicrous, right? It just sounds so stupid. And that's why everybody loves to hate surfers because they're so dumb and nobody cares. But when you're a surfer, you do. So it's this another, just like horror, but much smaller. It's this tiny little world of people that have invested their life following this activity. And
Hmm.
it means different things to different people. To some people, it's a career, it's a way to make money. To some people, it's purely recreation and a way to commune with nature. To other people, it's different thing. To everybody, it's something different. There's a lot of different types of surfers in the world. I was just kind of hard on them right now, but surfing has meant so much to me. The truth of the matter is, in my life, I owe a lot of my, life experiences of joy to surfing, the activity of surfing. And there are a lot of surfers that have been very kind to me. And
Right.
I will be grateful to them forever. We're part of this tiny tribe that's global now. It's a global tribe. And I owe so much to the community of surfing, even though I like to, Point Break is funny because we came up with this thing, we're bank robbers so that we can surf, right?
Yeah.
But we hated we hate surfers, like that was our creed, because we want our way. We're those guys,
Yeah.
Love surfing, hate surfers. I was just kind of hard on surfers, but I'm a surfer born, till the day I die. And so I have so many friends I'll love forever that are hardcore surfers, much more gnarly than me and much more into it than I am. And I respect surfing. I respect the sport of surfing, even though I
Yeah.
can talk bad about the fact that, oh yeah, you want to understand localism. It's not, it's easy. I'll help you. Just
Sweet.
kidding. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, mate, I swear, I was looking into,
Now that we lost all our listeners and nobody wants to have anything to do
mate.
with me anymore.
I like I say, like this surfing, like I mean, I'm brought up in like Nottinghamshire, so it's a county in the UK, and our nearest beach is a beach called Skegness Beach, right? And it is a shithole, right? I mean, it is just nappies everywhere, dirty water, and it's just crap. Like,
Mm.
but I was going to ask later on, but I might as well bring it up now. When you was surfing, like in your younger days and all this, have you heard of Nuki? like as a surfing area. Newquay, Cornwall in the UK.
Cornwall, yes. Newquay, I didn't know, but Cornwall I've heard of.
Yeah, so obviously that's kind of like our biggest area. They have like I think like so many surfing sports competitions there and all this. And I thought I'd better ask you just in case. There's a brand in the UK. I don't know if it ever got into the US called Fat Willie's Surf Shack, and it was just like this iconic clothing range. It's like badass. Apparently, the design is from like him going over to the US, and it's like a mixture of like the 80s scene and all this kind of stuff, and it's like just basically Fat Willies, and it's this mad freaking design. So obviously, sort of your experience in surfing, you've literally never heard of Newquay and never heard of Fat Willies.
That is correct, but I have a very limited exposure. My exposure to brands and international surf spots, even competitions, is not what a pro surfer would have, or someone that like follows the professional surfing and professional surf brand, you know, person that's all in on surfing. I mean, I'm all in on the activity, but I'm not all in on the business models and the
Right.
competition and the branding and things like that. I have it's my own little private thing I'm into, my own little tiny like world of surfing. But I would like to support that person, whoever it is, because it sounds
Yeah.
like they did something, they really knocked out something that's not easy to make that kind of thing happen to make a living in the surfing world is very difficult. So my hat's off to anybody that's pounded out and fought that game and been able to make someone's day because surfers are so stoked to get a fucking shirt, to get a hat, to get a sticker. They're just like, look, they get a box of sweatpants, and a sweatshirt with a brand on it. You're like, the surfers, way past the appropriate age are living to get their box from their sponsor, and that's changed a lot. And so my hat's off to that guy. I'd love to get some of that guy's shit. Fat Will
Hey.
Surf brand, that
Yeah,
looks
man.
sounds cool.
Yeah, well, you're coming over to the UK, aren't you? Sheffield, is it?
Yeah, we're
Is
going to
it?
Sheffield, UK Horror Con, it's called. I'm leaving May 15th, actually. That's very soon. I'm
Yes.
leaving May 15th, and then we're going to go, all a bunch of horror movie people are going to go down to Sheffield. I've never been there. I'm looking forward to it and be at a horror convention, which I do every month for the last year and the next year because a couple of movies, small little horror movies I was in 1984 and 1985 are celebrating 40-year anniversaries. And on those big anniversaries, conventions will invite cast members from these little horror movies if the horror movie became cult-like. And that's another, the horror convention cult circuit has gotten, my timing's good, has gotten so global and wonderful. So I'm pretty grateful that I was in these little horror movies, and I'm really lucky to get to go to Europe, to meet fans of those movies.
Yeah, is it the first time you've been to the UK, like as regards to like the Comic Con stuff then, or have you been several times?
Yes.
Oh,
I've been
wow.
to UK a bunch of times, but I've never been here for work. I've never been there to do a horror movie. I know they
Wow.
have horror cons. I know they have them in Europe and Germany and everything, but I've never
Yeah.
been invited. I'm a very small part of a couple of small movies. People that were big parts of those movies get to travel or go to, make a bunch of money because they're like big names in franchises and stuff. But I was just a little part of two casts of two, larger casts ensembles
Yeah.
and I just get to kind of ride their coattails into these conventions and just be like, wow, I'm so lucky to be here. That's how I feel.
I I love how you downplaying like Return of the Living Dead. Like it's just like, yeah, these like little tiny films that I did, like, it's like cult iconic classics like from that period. So yeah, I mean, I'll come on to that a bit later on, like,
Okay.
because I could just talk like for days, like with stuff like that. So, um, yeah, so going back, I mean, I keep mentioning the surfing thing, but I've wrote like quite a few bits about the surfing thing just because I don't really know a lot about it, but it's only briefly. I found a few bits of information. So I looked up. Is it true that you studied at UCSB? So is that University of California, Santa Barbara? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went there right out of high school. I was there in 1978, 79,
Yeah.
and that's when I decided I wanted, when I was there is when I decided I wanted to be a professional actor. But I was on the surf team, and
Yeah.
Palos Verdes, and I just went, if I stay here, I'm not going to get anything done.
All
And like, it's too pleasant, it's too
right.
mellow.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be an actor, I decided, at some point, did you want to talk about Santa Barbara for a while, or
Well,
did
no,
you want to?
no, because I mentioned about it said about the surf team. I was just quite intrigued with the surf team thing, like how that
Yeah.
even becomes competitive. Like, so but
Yeah. I did it. They had a college surf team. It's like a club, really, clubs. And then we'd compete against other surf teams, in California. That University of California, if the people, it wasn't really funded, you know what I mean? It's not like the water polo, which is amazing, or the
right.
basketball or the volleyball. The surf team is this little tiny thing. And the reason I joined it, I wasn't that good of a surfer, is so that I could get a shirt and a key to the beach gate so that I could go down to the private beach, in Santa Barbara.
Oh
I don't know,
wow.
Devereaux Point or something sands. If you're on the surf team, they you get a key and a shirt, and you could go down and practice, at this little good surf spot near the campus. And so that's why I did it. And I saw a friend of mine sent me a picture who was also on the Santa Barbara surf team. He was a good surfer, Brad Snyder. And he sent me a picture of the surf team at that time. He goes, "You're not in this picture, but I thought you might like to, to have a look back at our team." And I was like, "I don't remember anybody on it. I wasn't that into it. I'm not a good competitive surfer. I'm a terrible competitive surfer, and I admire people that are good at it. I'm not. I'm just a recreational surfer, and
Yeah.
but I'm proud that I joined that team. It's like I feel like it's a feather in my cap. I was like, I did this thing, and I'm proud of it, but I was not very good.
Oh, sweet. I mean, so did you study acting? That first time that you went into studying acting, then was at that university, or?
Yeah, I took an acting class there, even though it wasn't my major, and I got into a couple plays, and that was when I decided I can do that thing. I want to be an actor, and I could do it. I'm good at it. I found some success in college, and well, if I can be successful here, if I can really get a rush and a high and be successful getting parts here, then I should try to do it because this is what I really want to do with my life. I decided that then. So I dropped out of school. I went down and lived with my mom for a while, who was dying of cancer in San Diego. After she died, I then transferred to USC, and I had to start my sophomore year over. I had to audition for a Bachelor of Fine Arts conservatory. It's an acting conservatory within the University of Southern California. It's hard to get into, but I got in, and I went there for 3 years, and I graduated with an acting BFA, even though
Wow.
I wanted to see if I could live in a city because, what kind of actor am I going to be? In college, you're looking at these regional theater acting companies that are bound companies, but I wanted to do TV and movies because
Yeah.
I loved that shit growing up. I loved movies. I love movies and drama and TV, filmed entertainment. That's what I wanted to do. And I'd never lived in a city before. I grew up in suburbia. Now I'm up at Santa Barbara. Now I'm down in San Diego. And I went, I got to get into LA. I got to see if I can handle it. It's not for everybody. Just like surfing. LA is not. Have you ever been to LA?
No, I've been to San Diego though. I went to a Comic Con there, but other than that, no, I've not
Comic.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, LA is not for everyone. Like my brother hates it. A lot of people hate it. But this is where the acting center was for, back in the 80s. So I had to go see if I could handle LA. And I found that I fell in love with it. It was 1980, and I just fell in love with LA. I started going out to the clubs at night, studying acting, meeting other actors, dancing in nightclubs, going, these are my people. I love the city. And
Yeah.
I just fell in love with cities. It's just something I was going through in my life in my 20s. And so New York, LA, London, Paris, Rome, I went everywhere, man. I just would be in city. I just love cities and theater and movies. And I had just a awakening, as a youth, an awakening in my 20s, in the 80s in LA. And that's what, and when I graduated USC, I did a couple of plays, and that's how I got a manager and an agent. And that first movie I ever got was Children of the Corn. The first movie I ever shot was Children of the Corn. And I just did it because I had agreed to do this other movie, this really nice movie called Grandview USA, which is a beautiful VHS classic movie with Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Jason Leigh, you know,
It's a
and
great cast.
Jamie Lee Curtis, John Cusack, Tommy Howell, Cook, Carol Cook. It was an amazing cast. Troy Donahue's in it. I mean, it was an amazing cast. First time I worked with Patrick Swayze, but it was a serious role in a serious movie. And my agent suggested I go in and audition for this Children of the Corn movie. He thought I could get this tiny little part. And it would be good for me to experience working on a professional SAG set with cameras, lights, directors, because I'd never done it before. I'd just done theater.
Right.
So it was my first movie, and I learned a lot about, you know, how a set works, how you film acting and movies. So it was great for me to do, but I never thought it would do anything. I never thought it would be, important like the next movie I did. But 40 years later, I go to conventions and sign autographs for Children of the Corn.
Hmm.
And even though that next movie I did really changed my whole life, which was Grandview USA, changed my entire trajectory of my life because Randall Kleiser cast me in that movie. He's a brilliant director and a producer and a writer, and I was good in it. And because I was good in that movie, that first movie I was cast in, but the second movie I shot, he cast me in a movie he did called North Shore for Universal. And that movie changed my life because I got to play Turtle in a surf movie and Surf Pipeline and meet all the my dream legends. And that character has been a defining aspect of my entire life since that became a cult classic in the surfing world.
Wow.
So yeah, I look, it's so much more interesting to look back on your life, 40 years later and see how these little things that happen, these little breaks you get, led to something that ultimately ended up defining my life. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad would be like, "When are you gonna, I'm still surfing, I'm at USC or I'm in college or I'm making movies and I'm still going to Indonesia surf." My dad's, "When are you gonna quit this surfing thing?" And I was like, "Never." And as it turned out, the surfing thing ended up helping me in a career in life, by getting North Shore and getting Point Break. I was able to, because I stopped acting for a while. I couldn't get a job after the 90s. I had like a relapse into drug addiction and I couldn't get an audition. I couldn't get a job. I was unemployable. I didn't know how to do anything. And at that point, I said, the only thing I know how to do is surf. Now, maybe I can teach surfing. And I told my dad, I'm going to be a surf instructor. And he goes, "What is that even a job? Like, what the hell that job?" But I made a career out of I made 20 years. I all I did was teach surfing for 20 years until I got back into acting recently. And I put my head down and I became a professional surf instructor. And that gave me a life for 20 years.
Mate,
And now I
that's
just do
awesome.
that a little bit. Now I do acting and surfing, in equal parts.
So, going on to like you says that you was like unhireable, if you like, or you couldn't get roles. So, you was a surf coordinator in Blue Crush, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was directed by John Stockwell, and you was also in Undercover, weren't you? That was his first directing movie. You know what I mean? So, like, did you hit it off there, or?
God, you go deep. Yeah. So Undercover, the reason I got to be in John Stockwell's directorial debut Undercover is because he had cast my friend David Neidorf as the lead, and I also knew Jennifer Jason Leigh because I'd worked with her on Grandview USA, and I had just done a bunch of jobs. I was a pretty successful actor at the time, and Dave goes, "You want to play my best friend, this cop in this little movie? I'm the lead." And I'm like, "Fuck, I'd be honored, man." I met John. He was happy to have me in it because I was kind of coming up and I was doing well, and I was happy to be in that movie, Undercover, man. John Stockwell. But, to get that job of Blue Crush, of Kate Bosworth, surf instructor, surf consultant on Blue Crush, it was a battle. I
Yeah.
had already been phased out of acting. John Stockwell had become more of a director. I would see John, but I had been in these two iconic surf movies, North Shore and Point Break, and he's making a big studio surf movie, for Brian Grazer.
Yeah.
I'd see him in Malibu because I'm out there teaching surfing in Malibu. And John would go like, let's have lunch. I want to ask you questions. He'd ask me all these questions. How did they film this scene in North Shore? How did they film that scene? How did they film this in Point Break? Who did they use to do this in Point Break? All these, he's just going to school on me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
because I've got these actresses, I'm teaching them surf, we got to give them surf tests and stuff. I'm like, I'm a surf instructor. That's what I'm doing here. That's what I'm really out here for. I'm talking everything, but I am a surf instructor. He's like, yeah, 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 yeah. So how did they film this? The next time I see him, like he never called me to hire me.
Yeah.
And I'm all I do is teach surfing now. I'm a professional surf instructor. I'm out of the film business. And I see him on the beach and I see some guy in the water teaching this girl actress how to surf. I see him, this guy's good. And I'm like, what the fuck? And John's on the beach with a camera. And I come out of the water. I've been in the water for hours. I'm freezing fucking cold. It's in the morning. It's gray. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, that's my guy. It's like teaching my actors how to surf and stuff. And I'm like, dude, does he even know what he's doing? And the guy was actually a very, very famous, good surf instructor, but I'm pissed at John Stockwell. And I'm like,
Wow.
does he even know what the fuck? Dude, I'm a professional surf instructor.
Shit.
Fuck. And I just walked away. I was totally salty with him. And for
Wow.
whatever reason, the next day I get a call, hey, do you want to give surfing lessons to this actress? And I'm like, oh, finally. Yes. And
Yeah.
I got the job of teaching Kate Bosworth how to surf and seeing if she actually wasn't teaching her how to surf. It was more like seeing if she would be capable of playing a surfer in a movie.
Right.
Because I'm a surfer and a surf instructor, and I had played a surfer in movies. And there's a lot of things that go into that are very physical. And so, yeah, I got the job. It was a great job. He hired me and I got lucky, and I became a surf consultant for a feature film in Hollywood. And that really got me back into, oh, I can work for Hollywood. He hired me two other times to work on surf related entertainment that he had something to do with directing or producing or writing. One of those things was an acting job. He needed an actor that could, because he was really into reality. He needed
Yeah.
an actor that could surf pipeline, and act. And there are no actors that can do that except for me. And he hired me, and I got to surf pipeline again and fight and be a badass drug dealer. And I'm so grateful to John Stockwell. He gave me this opportunity that led me back into the entertainment business. Good, looked good on my resume, Blue Crush, like he gave me a whole nother career. He didn't know it. And I'm just, God, I gotta thank him next time I see him. I used to see him all the time. I mean, we've got such a history. I would take surf clients out to Point Doom as a private surf, really private, localized kind of surf community in Malibu that he has a house in. And he has a key to this place, just like you got to
Sweet.
have a key to get in. And I remember him coming paddling up to me going, hey man, you can't give surf lessons out here. And I was like, John, this is where I taught Kate Bosworth to surf. I've been surfing here all my life. Would you just buy a house here a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Vibing me, and I'm working.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so ironic and so funny. He got the joke, he laughed eventually, but it is a real thing. You can't give surf lessons out here. I'm like, God, I've been doing that. It's funny because I've been giving surf lessons out here for 30 years, John.
Shit,
But
man.
I did surf lessons for you out here. You used to pay me to give surf lessons out here. Now you're
Yeah,
saying
it's
I should.
forgot all that. Yeah.
So it's so fun. It's just surfing's it's just a great fucking life. I got to tell you, man. I'm so lucky that I got to do it. Point Dume's such a fun place to surf.
Yeah. I mean,
Anyway,
going.
I'm babbling.
No, no, mate. This is interesting. Yeah, like I said, I've wrote loads of like notes and questions down, but like this is what it's all about. It's just chatting, is Yeah. So, um, yeah, going back because I did want to talk a bit about Grandview, USA, because like I didn't realize that. Did you say you filmed that before Children of the Corn, but it was released after? Is that right?
I said that I got cast in it before Children of the Corn, but I filmed it
Right.
afterwards. So I got cast in that movie. I'm like, that's the first movie I got cast in. I did an audition with Cher that was the best work I've ever done, playing this mentally challenged, boy named Cowboy. And I was like,
Yeah.
I got this part, like, and I got this plum part in a great movie. And my agent, Steve Dontonville at the time goes, you should go in for this. You've got time before you shoot this movie and you can go do this horror movie, Children of the Corn. It's like a nothing part and everything, but I got that part. I think basically they showed the casting directors went, this guy's going to go on to do a big movie. So we should get him. Like anybody could have done what I did in that movie, but it was really good. They gave me an opportunity to do it. Jeff Greenberg and Linda Francis said, "Okay, we'll give John Philbin a shot." And Steve Dontonville, plugged me, because I was going off to do a Randall Kleiser movie after that. So when I did Children of the Corn, I'm reading the script. I'm like, oh, this guy's got his shirt off and he's cutting a pentagram in his chest. That's the first scene I ever filmed in a Hollywood movie. And I'm in the back room doing push-ups and sit-ups, like sit-ups, like push-ups, The director keeps coming in going, God, I've never seen an actor do more push-ups and sit-ups in my life before a scene. I'm like, I'm gonna have my shirt off in the next scene. First scene I've ever shot in a movie. Yeah, I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups.
Yeah.
And I just remembered, oh, I'm kind of like a meat puppet, like a flash dance kind of guy, like I want to now I've done all that work. I want to show off my push-ups and sit-ups. It's so funny. But yeah, that's a side of me that I discovered when I did Children of the Corn. But then I spent a lot of time researching Grandview USA while I was working on Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
And Children of the Corn had some amazing there's a scene in Children of the Corn where I sacrifice myself to he who walks behind the rows, and it's at night and there's like fog and there's machines and I mean lights, key lights, we're out in the freezing fucking night, and out in a cornfield and I get to talk to God and I sacrifice myself. And it's really, for me, that was the first time I went, this is film acting. Oh, this is powerful. This is amazing. Night shooting, and like having powerful emotions and everyone's staring at you and you're in the zone. I was like, this is going to be so exciting. So when I went to do Grandview USA and I'd done a lot of research, I was in the zone. I was in character on the set. If I was on the set, I was in character. And
Yeah.
God, it was just magic memories of being just really good in that movie and going like, wow, I'm a different human being and I'm doing this thing and I'm going to do this. I'm going to be an actor. It was a magic time that Randall Kleiser provided for me, and I'll be forever grateful. Jamie Lee Curtis, fuck, Tommy Howell, those guys, and Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great. It's a film that don't really get enough mention, for the cast, because there was a young John Cusack, even Joan Cusack was there as well. Like,
Oh, you know everything, bro. You know more than
so
anything.
yeah, I'm just saying
Yeah,
it was crazy. Like it's
crazy.
just it must have been like, I mean, obviously Jamie Lee Curtis, she'd done a few films up to that point, so she was almost like a pro, weren't she? So, but your connection with her was just brilliant. Like the subtle winks here and there. So
Yeah.
heartfelt, and and I just the scene that got me was when the taking the cars away from the scrapyard. Mate, that emotion, that raw emotion, it wasn't. It was just like shit, man. I really felt for you. You know what I mean? Because this is your will, this is your life. Scrap cars, you know what I mean? And it's it was a cool scene. So we're like,
That was a cool scene. God, it was a cool scene, man. There was too much drama building up to it, but like, by the time I finally fucking shot it, like it was the pressure and the stress like was too much to bear, but still I'd done all the, the prep work. So whatever you got to see, was based on work I'd done before. But yeah, Jamie was very generous to me as an
yeah.
actor. She was very loving. She went, "Oh, I see this little wounded boy, and I want to protect him and love him." And that's how she treated me.
Oh
And
wow.
so, she's just a wonderful actress, but that she was very kind in that movie to me. I was very lucky to the way we worked together.
Yeah, she looks. I mean, just stuff that we're seeing, uh, news reels and stuff. Just as she is to this day, she just seems like a really genuine person, And she's just like so. I mean, she was one of my first crushes. I'm not going to lie. So it was just like, yeah, she's brilliant in that movie. So did Patrick Swayze was obviously, he was in it. So when he did Point Break, was that just pure fluke, or was it like, hey, you know what? I know this guy who surfs, blah blah blah.
That's funny because I'll never know why exactly I got cast in Point Break. I have a couple of ideas. I was good in Randall Kleiser's movie North Shore. I played a
Yeah,
surfer in a studio surf film, and people, I think, took notice of that performance, even though it was a kind of a cheesy 80s surf movie, which is what it
yeah,
was. Now they're making a serious surf movie. It's a bank robbing movie, it's a buddy cop movie, but still, it's in the surf milieu. Catherine Bigelow really is into getting some realistic shit in the background of her movies, but she's also into really great actors. So she's just a brilliant casting person. And, with Keanu and Patrick together, I don't know that she knew anything about my history with Patrick Swayze, or maybe not
oh
even,
wow,
I can't imagine her watching North Shore, because she's such a serious director. But I auditioned for that movie when Ridley Scott or Tony Scott was the director, and it was a different cast in a different studio, and I got the part. I got really close to Bodhi, but I got the part of Nathaniel. And then that movie got dropped. All the producers knew who the director wanted to play those gangsters, those bank robbing surfers. And I
right,
had been cast. I was cast as Nathaniel. So when that
wow,
movie got picked up, all the producers were still attached. The writer and the producer were attached, just a new director and a new cast. But I got carried on to the next one. And I think that,
uh,
like, oh, this is they're like, this is the guy. So maybe I came along with the package and she saw no reason to change it. Even though I did, when I heard I got that movie, it got dropped. I lost it. I was like, oh, I was crushed. And then the movie came back 3, 4 months later, all of a sudden, oh, that movie, it's back and you got the part again. And I was like, oh my God. It was the greatest thing ever. And she was the greatest thing ever. I wish at that time I was just nicer and softer and gentler and more, professional to work with than I was. I was such a dick and I was playing an asshole and I didn't have, my wits about me strong enough, to just not go like, I got to go a different direction than North Shore. And I'm going to just I'm the meanest, baddest fucking motherfucker. And I love Patrick Swayze so much. I will die for him. And I do,
yeah,
I die for him. And so I had the advantage of being cast in the original, when it was called something else, and my part was bigger, and it really explained why my character was upset that Patrick would take in this fucking guy. Who
yeah,
is this fucking guy? I mean, he's jeopardizing what we have, and I'm jealous, I'm protective, and I know there's something wrong with him. In the original movie, I commit suicide as a statement. This guy's
wow,
this guy's bad. This guy's gonna ruin our thing.
shit,
That's not what happens in the one that we ended up filming with the, different script, different director and stuff. But I had that within me. So when I was making that movie, I didn't, and I'm a surfer. So there aren't a lot of real surfers in the movie. It's not,
and
but I'm a
actors,
real surfer.
yeah.
I'm not that good of an actor, but I'm a real surfer. So I don't give a fuck. Like you could watch that movie. My wife's like, I don't like you. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, you don't give a fuck. And that comes across. I think, Catherine allowed it, even though it's frustrating to her, but that comes across on film. That guy doesn't give a fuck. I knew I could surf. I could surf pipeline.
Yeah,
Like, so that arrogant thing about surfers who can do this thing, who think they're cool because they can do this thing. That's what I brought to the table.
yeah.
Like,
But
yeah, you're Patrick Swayze, you're Keanu Reeves, you're James LeGros, a brilliant actor and stuff, but I'm the real deal.
I love that.
You guys are adorable and really cute. That's cute, but I'm the real deal.
I love that. Yeah, but
So
you've got to
I
have
got
that.
that. What?
I think well, you're kind of bank robbing gang, so there's got to be someone with a bit of edge about him, hasn't there? Because like Patrick
Yeah.
Swayze is all about love and spiritualism and all that stuff with the water. Yeah, you gotta have someone who's just like, yeah, fuck that. I just want to like hit the waves. I mean that night surf, like is night surfing really difficult? I mean that looks like dangerous as fuck, like So filming that was that tough?
Oh, what a wonderful question. We filmed day for night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put filters on the lens. We filmed broad daylight in
Ah,
Hawaii on the North Shore. Hate to break it to you. And then they
no.
put the day for night lenses on. We didn't film at night. We didn't go surfing at night. And
Is
yes,
that
there
is that
was a
even a
night.
thing then? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
night
no,
surf. Yeah,
Night surfing is a thing.
and it's
It's a
dangerous as
thing.
shit. Yeah, so
Guys do it and it's gnarly. They go surf places like Malibu that are crowded. I've seen guys, they surf Pipeline and Backdoor at night. They put a floodlight on it, and surf incredible waves that they know exactly where the wave's going to break every time, a really
wow,
consistent reef break or something, or a point break, perfect point break. They can surf those places at night.
right, shit.
Everything we did was day for night.
No, well, still, it was very effective. Like it was a great
Good.
scene.
Yeah, she did a great job. The beach was at night.
Yeah,
When we walk onto the sand, we're in Malibu at night. When we're in
right.
the water surfing, it's Hawaii in the day with the day for night filter on it.
Sweet. I love it. James Cameron was executive producer. So him and Catherine Bigelow, were they dating at that time? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's a big deal when James Cameron comes to the set. Yeah, they're together. I mean, they're two brilliant
yeah, and
filmmakers.
he'd been prepping for like Terminator 2 as well for that at that point, really. So
Yeah,
wow,
we'd go
yeah.
over to their house and like meet him, and like she'd talk about this guy's so smart, showing me the gas masks and things that they were going to use in certain scenes, and like
Hmm.
some really high end military shit, like. But yeah, like yeah, it's a big deal when he comes to the set, like But
Yeah.
she was our captain, she's our leader, our fearless leader.
Yeah, I mean, I was also going on with that is that chase scene, where Keanu Reeves is getting the meatball subs, and then you've just robbed the bank, and that chase scene on car and foot is just like high octane. It's fucking ace. Like, was you involved like the whole time? Like, because the driving literally looked like you was driving for real. I mean, I know it's fancy.
Yeah, I'm in the back seat, except sometimes those stunts they're doing are pretty gnarly, and there's no reason I'm in a mask. There's
Yeah.
no reason for me to do that. And I was like, why don't my stunt double's sitting around in my fucking suit with an extra mask like all day? I'm like, go for it. So certain scenes when it's not me, if I'm
Yeah.
on camera and looking and it's talking, it's me. If
Mm.
I'm not on camera looking and talking, if I'm just in the car, sometimes it's not me. And
Right.
I'm happy to let him do that, and I'll go eat a salad because we weren't allowed to eat during that movie. But I think by that time we were getting close to the end and we could fucking eat craft service. That's such a big deal. Fuck, we just starved ourselves and we all worked out at Gold's and ate sushi and oatmeal. That's all we had. We
Awesome.
couldn't go to craft service. And you're like, fuck, don't even show it to me.
Like Gary Busey, like an absolute legend character. Like, is he everything that I hope he was on set? Like, as regards to like just ab-libbing shit, because I can imagine him just coming out with just stuff like that wasn't scripted and just completely fucking nuts. Like, is he a
Yeah,
cool? He's a cool guy?
yeah. I mean, he is a national treasure as an actor, right?
Yeah,
And during that movie, he still had his wits about him, and was brilliant, and great. And no one can do what he does. He brings something very unique and it's an energy, and an intelligence to his characters where you just fucking go with it, whatever, So we were, he had a motorcycle accident, but he wasn't crazy. His nickname wasn't Scary Busey. It was Gary Busey, like
yeah,
brilliant actor. And so we were
yeah.
lucky to have him. My whole claim to fame as an actor surfer, there's a couple people that are actor surfers, not that many, but there's a few. I'm one of them. My claim to fame is my character, Turtle from North Shore, iconic surf movie that changed my life, gets shot and killed by Gary Busey, who played the Masochist in Big Wednesday, in my opinion, the best surf movie,
Yeah.
Hollywood surf movie ever made. In the Catherine Bigelow action cop movie, Point Break. So the Masochist kills Turtle in Point Break. That is, my
Yeah, man.
kind
Yeah,
of
that's it.
the whole
Awesome.
world coming together for me.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so going on to going flashing back a bit more, like I want to mention the new kids. It's called something
Good.
else. Is it something else in the America? Was it released as a different name?
In America, it was the New Kids. In other countries,
Right.
it might have gotten some other names.
Oh, it's just like I saw some. I think it was called something else, but yeah, it's new kids over here anyway. But
Yeah.
um, that for me is probably my favorite role of yours. I mean, you're an absolute scumbag. I just want to say that you're an absolute scumbag.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
so
assuming
good.
like yeah, you was like going full pelt with that because like you went straight into town with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that you saw that movie and you liked it and you remember it. Like The New Kids, I think is some of my best work. Yeah, I was doing my best work back in the 20s. I was on fire. I was like, this is fucking great. Jimmy Spader, Eric Stoltz were friends
yeah,
of mine, and I got to go big with that character. They let me like a little too big, they let me go a little too big in some scenes. I don't know what got into me, but you never know what's going to work and what's not going to work. I was very into pushing, like pushing things out
yeah.
at
How
that
far
age.
you can get, what you can get
How
away
far can
with.
I go with this?
Yeah,
Yeah. And so that gets you an interesting, at least it gets you an interesting performance, like someone's trying to do something, here. So I had no, holds. I was like, I'm gonna make this. And every actor, like back then, I want to be Robert De Niro, so like, you're trying to do the best thing you can, And I was at
yeah.
that age. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be like De Niro and Bloody Mama in this. So it was really fun. I'm glad you liked it. That movie is a culty movie. I'm at that horror convention. I now bring pictures of Gideon from the New Kids to
Sweet.
horror conventions because Sean Cunningham owns Friday the 13th, like, and some people thought that movie was kind of a horror movie. And so now, it's part of the merch that I sell at horror conventions is Gideon from the New Kids.
Yeah, it's a dark role, and like that whole yeah, it's just uncomfortable to watch me. Like there's the scene you're in the introduction in the library where you're chatting up Laurie Loughlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the spitting on the computer screen. Like she looked shocked. Was that you going full pelt, or was that like
I don't, she's such a good actress, actually, like I think she was shocked that I got so in her space,
yeah?
but she's actually a really good act, like I put on a bunch of really disgusting cologne and I was like, I'd eaten shit onions, so when I'm like getting really close to her, like she's like, God, this guy is fucking disgusting, but I can't leave the frame. So it produced a dynamic tension between us that I found to be very exciting and appealing. She's a really good actress. She's so good in that movie.
Yeah,
But I think that might have been written in the thing. Spit on it. The tongue
yeah,
wagging. I came up with that originally.
yeah.
I remember, doing it to her like, and her just going, "Ugh," and the director going like, "Oh, let's see, cut. And he was like, is that what you want to do? And I go, yeah, I want to do that. And he's like, we just have to think about it. We have to talk about it. I go, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm doing? Do you know what it means? He goes, yeah, I know what it means. Like I was literally so naive and so young that I didn't know that performing cunnilingus, everybody knew what it was. I thought I had this secret, like
Yeah,
this. And
yeah.
like,
I love it.
I said, do you know what I mean by it? And he goes, yeah, yeah, we know what you mean. But they let it stay in, and I just don't know if that was fucking cool or not. But it was out there. It
No,
was on. It,
it just adds a different dimension to that scene because it's like you're already a scumbag and you're in a face, and then you just do like a little bit extra, and it's just like straight away I'm like, geez, I hate this guy. It's
I
like,
hate this guy. Yeah,
yeah, and
I hate this guy. Good.
yeah, that's it. That's the whole point. Yeah, it worked. So yeah. And James Spader in that though. I mean, like his
That's
whole
his first film.
image. Yeah, because you're obviously in a small town in Florida, and he's there with the this cowboy boots and the button shirt and bleached blonde hair. Yeah, it was just this intense character that was like it was just it was like unnerving to watch and stuff. So like, was he like to work with him in scenes? Was he just like, can you snap out of it? It's like, yeah, hi guys, yeah. Or was he like fully into that
He was
scene?
fully into it, man. He was totally into it. I didn't see him snap out of the
Wow, he's an
that
intense
character
guy, isn't he?
too often. He was playing and the way he looked and everything. And Jimmy is intense guy.
Is he?
So I was intimidated and by James Spader, even
Yeah,
though and it's okay because my character was intimidated by him too.
yeah,
He's a loose cannon, but I never was 100% relaxed and comfortable around James Spader, even though he's a sweetheart and I love him so much, but he's a serious. we used to say in the 80s, like, Jimmy, how you fucking, because he was starting to play more villains after that. You know, he got some good roles in some big teen dramas, and he's playing a villain, and he's in the big time now, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm like, how do you surviving on, like, he goes, cigarettes, coffee, and raw fear. And that's how he got through the 80s, man. Cigarettes, coffee, and raw fear. And
Yeah.
he really is an amazing actor. But that was him just going, I'm playing this, him really pushing his boundaries out, and
Yeah.
experimenting with the dark side. And he did great. There's a sexy homoerotic scene when he's in his little tidy underwear and Shannon Presby breaks in and fucking threatens his life, shows him he's a badass. And it's a rad, sexy scene, man. Jimmy was so skinny when he made that movie. It was unreal. Like
Yeah.
just perfect body. He could have gone that way if he wanted to, but he's just such a brilliant actor. He never used, he never really exploited his body, he's just much more an intellectual actor, and he got these like Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and then,
Yeah.
the submissive movie he did about bondage and discipline was so fucking good with Gyllenhaal and Maggie. And it was just like he's just really
The
he's a
secretary, was it? You mean?
secretary, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He's just like really he's got it all as an actor. He could do anything, but he just found this niche in television, like where he's just the lead. And he's got a family and kids and stuff. And in movies, you got to travel around and you're gone away from home, like TV, you get to go to work, write, do brilliant words, like, and be brilliant, and then go home and
Yeah.
raise your kids, and that's what he did.
So, I mean, going on the traveling. So, you obviously you did Children of the Corn. That was Iowa, I want to say. Uh,
Correct.
Illinois, was it then for Grandview? So you
You
was
know
like,
more about me than I do.
I
Like
just
my
wanted to
wife.
be prepared. You know what I mean? So, like, so being out at this other side of the states, like, what was that? Going from California to there in the sticks, like, what was that like
Yeah.
filming?
Well, it's great for I'm a suburban kid from Southern California who is a surfer, like now I want to be an actor. I quit surfing
Mm-hmm.
and for the time being, and I'm just acting. I'm acting in like where I was in Sioux, Iowa, then Illinois, then Florida, then somewhere else in the Midwest. And I came back with a mid-American accent. I would go on auditions and talk, and I'd kind of have a Southern, slightly fake fucking Midwestern accent, not Midwestern Northern, but Southern.
Right.
And anything but sound like a surfer.
Yeah.
I just distanced myself from that, and I'd done all these movies in different states, and I'd come back because I thought I was going to, be getting envelopes of per diem my whole life after this. I did like 3 or 4 movies back to back. They're handing me envelopes. What is this? They're like, that's your per diem. I go, per diem, what is that? They're like, that's the money you're allowed to spend while you're here. That's your daily
Oh
money. I'm like,
wow.
my daily money. Oh wow, it's an envelope of cash. And I'm like, I'm buying cowboy hats and fucking leather jacket. I'm looking like jeans, like boots and shit. And because I'm the furthest thing from a cowboy in the world, but I'm coming
Yeah.
home. My dad picks me up at the airport. I'll be wearing a cowboy hat and a military jacket and boots, like, wow, John, you're really kind of going through this stage. I go, do you like it? Do you think it looks good? I mean, it's so funny. He goes, oh, it's not you, but I was anything but who I was. I was trying to
Yeah.
be anything but who I was. I go to England, I go to New York, I'd speak with an English accent,
Really?
smoked tons with my passport on the bar, just trying to be anything but a California surfer until
Right.
I until I got North Shore, like until North Shore became a hit. After I did that, I was like, I cannot deny this thing. It's because people had a bad reputation of surfers. But yeah, I loved my youthful trying to explore different identities. That's all I'm all about it. Different identities,
Yeah. Oh no,
getting behind different identities.
that's what it's all about, isn't it? So it must have been really exciting at that age. Like say, experiencing all these different cultures and environments and things. So I've got to say, like, obviously you're a surfer, you're from California. How did you get any chance of being in Baywatch at all? Like,
Never.
how was that? you're ticking all the boxes, so was
I
you?
didn't get, I don't think I'm very TVQ. I don't really have the TV. I mean, look at my face. It's not, I don't have a TV. You'd be on TV before I would. I mean, TV wants, they're looking for a very symmetrical, clean, welcome into our living room. Like it's a
uh,
very different, and I just never was very good at being the corporate, like I'd go on auditions and never get anything. I'd go look at, I go, what is it, my problem? Like maybe I suck at auditioning. I'm only good at like when I can study a character and just be that guy,
mm,
on a movie set because I'm living in a hotel in another state. You know what I mean? Instead of just drive to the studio. When you go to auditions at TV in studios, you walk down and you see all these framed pictures of the cast. And they're all fucking clean cut, good looking, symmetrical TV guys and
yeah,
girls. Beautiful women playing cops, beautiful
yeah,
women playing forensic scientists, beautiful models playing, lawyer, and you're just like, this is so fake, and phony
yeah,
and stupid. This is that, and that attitude just killed me, my chances, of being on Baywatch, like a bunch of guys and who look like that. Kelly Slater was on Baywatch. I fucking love that guy, but Kelly could do TV before I could,
yeah.
It doesn't matter if he can act or not. He's just fucking beautiful to behold, but I am not, so
Oh,
yeah,
mate.
Baywatch. I tell you, I learned something about entertainment industry and Baywatch because you can tell I have kind of an attitude, it's a little pretentious. And when I was even worse when I was young in the 80s, I'm only doing movies. I'm not doing TV. That was the dumbest, plan. But Jimmy Spader went the other direction. He's smart. But I remember watching a movie. I was just about art films and artistic integrity. And even though I'm making horror movies in these low budget, I'll take any job I can get. But I had an attitude like, why would that actor do that movie? Why would that actor, that actress do that movie? I would say to people who were, because everybody around me was more successful than I was. All my friends were more successful than me in the business. They were professionals.
Yeah.
They would say, well, John, actors have to work. It's a job. They
Yeah.
have to work. And it took me a while because I would make fun of Baywatch.
Yeah.
But like a year after that, my whole motto in life, I've learned this, is you mock what you will become. So I went from a place of making fun of thinking I was better than Baywatch to a place where I went, trying to help somebody understand the entertainment industry. I would
Yeah.
go, it's like this big tent, like it's really important. It's just like food. Human beings need entertainment. They need it. You go to a huge open market and some of that will be entertainment. It might come in religion or like, but entertainment is life-saving, sustenance for the soul. That's what we do. It's a noble thing to do. Human beings need it. But at the top of that tent, at the very, very top, there's David Hasselhoff in Baywatch because Baywatch was the most successful filmed entertainment on in the world at the time. There's the number one thing that people watch is called Baywatch, and the head of that thing is David Hasselhoff. So that's as good as you can get. That's the very top, and then under there's like Robert De Niro does these adorable little gangster movies. Daniel Day-Lewis, it's so cute, and he does this, stuff he does with a different mustache. Like it's adorable. But the top, underneath, above all those guys is David Hasselhoff and Baywatch, and I had to learn, yeah, that's the hierarchy of entertainment, and
That's crazy, man.
I know it's a crazy way to think, but everybody's teach his own. Who am I to tell someone what gets them through the night, like what gets them through the day? People get, they get really pretentious about entertainment they did anyway in the 80s. They thought movies are what it's all about. And then all of a sudden in the 2000s, it's like, no, TV.
TV is massive now, man. Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's cable. Like it's, it's
I'm
cable show.
surprised. I'm surprised because, like, say for instance, Tom Cruise. I know he's like the biggest film star or whatever, but I'm amazed, with his the way he looks at the just making movies and the way the effort he puts in. How he's not he's never dabbled in TV ever. Like, so it's, so, I suppose if, you just stick to what you're
You're
into,
good
I
at.
suppose. Yeah, I think that's it. And yeah, but TV now is just crazy, isn't it? I've got to say, like, going back onto this, I had a quick look up on the surfing thing. So on ranker.com, there's a list of famous male surfers. Like, so if you have a look, you probably understand know more than I would. But and I was like curious to see where you might be on the list. So you made the top 30 of the
Fuck
most famous
Unreal. What am
male
I, number
surf.
27 or something?
Exactly, 27. You must have seen the list.
Yeah. Is that old or new? Is it
Well, it's the only one that I could find, to be fair. But
right?
did
Yeah,
you
I
see?
heard about that and I immediately went to it and I was like, I was like, "Fuck, look at me." Like, because surfing is so important to me and it's such a
That's
big part of my life.
massive.
How do you get there from here? Like,
Yeah,
you know, it's so funny because in the real surfing world, I'm nothing. I'm like, no, but I'm a clown, like here, put this stupid hat on, say that, like whatever, put out this wig on, get down, put this candle in your ass. But for Ranker to say I'm, a famous surfers like it, I was so proud of that ranking. I was like, what's ranker.com? This is awesome. I wanted to make it my whole thing. So
yeah,
yeah,
man. Yeah,
yeah.
I was going to say,
I tried to distance myself from that whole scene for years. And then when I did North Shore, Jerry Lopez, my guru just said, John, never quit surfing again. It's free. You can do it all around the world for the rest of your life. It's healthy. And I was
wise
like,
words.
right. And I just got back into it and I've never let it go since. And it's become a lifesaver to
Well,
me.
you're in great shape. I mean, like, I don't
I
know.
am now.
Yeah, I mean, you look
I
fantastic. I don't want to know what your age is. It's like I'm not
Let me
here
take
to.
my shirt off. No, I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, no, you don't need to. I mean,
Yeah, you look great.
I look great right now. I got married 2 years ago,
Oh, sweet.
and my wife's quite a bit younger than I am. She's beautiful, and I just don't. I saw some pictures of us, and I was fat. After COVID, I just let myself go. I wasn't an actor anymore. I was trying to get out of teaching. So I was like just going to these conventions. I was just fat, and I was like, "What
Right.
the? I can't. You know what? I'm done." So I just changed my whole game in the last 2 years, last 3 years, last 2 years, and I'm on the case now. I'm on the team. I'm going to the gym and working out, and I
Sweet.
kind of watch what I eat, and like I'm into it. I want to be around. And now I'm working as an actor again. It's like you don't want to, you know, the vanity of being an actor is just off the charts disturbing. But
Yeah.
I've got it again. So thank you.
Oh, sweet, man. Yeah, so you should be happy with it. Like, you
Yeah,
look great.
the vanity of being an actor is insane. It doesn't matter how old you get, you want to look your best for how old you are. If you're an actor, like, yeah, you're going to be in this movie, you're doing this thing. You're like, fuck, like I saw some pictures of me that I was like, yeah, that guy's just quit. He's just over it.
I've got to say, like, looking at if there was any other actors above you on the 27, I don't know if you looked at the rest. Did you see actor Don Stroud? So he was above you on the list, and he's famous for playing Father Dolan in Amityville Horror.
Oh,
So he was actually higher than you. So he's like some famous surfer. Who would have known? You know what I mean?
I,
So
I didn't know. I didn't know. Like, yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. It's not. It's definitely not a surfers list. You know what I mean? It's not a top 100 best surfers. But I know that Chris Hemsworth is a really good surfer.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, he's just looks like he can take to
Do
anything.
anything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
That guy can fly.
100%. Um, so going on to it's 40 years, isn't it, for Return of the Living Dead? So that's a big deal. Like you've got to be proud of being involved with that film, ain't you? I mean, who like
Right.
when you was filming it and that, like looking into it, we just like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, and 40 years down the line, it's an absolute cult classic with so much admiration and everything. So, like, what were your thoughts while you were filming it? Did you have any idea it was going to be this big?
Dude, you've already said everything. That is the encapsulation of exactly our experience. What the fuck are we doing? What is this shit? Like, fuck. And then it became a cult movie
Yeah.
20 years later. Like we're like, and now 40 years later, we're traveling around and it's a cult classic. And we had no fucking clue, no idea what was going on and what we were doing and what it was going to be. We were shocked as the next person. And then it, because of VHS and cable and the movie developed into a cult classic. And then we're all like I travel with that group of people, every month to some other state, some city, and we stay in a hotel. We all go out to dinner, and we're like a family now.
Oh
I love,
wow.
we're like like, oh, it's great to see you. Like we're like the Rolling Stones. I like to come like, how's it going? Good. How's your so and so? It's great. Yeah, we're doing this thing. Again, we all go out to dinner, do a Q&A. And it's been 40 years, and now we're all close. We're like a family. But at the time, no clue. Just
Yeah.
like, what is this? What are we doing? I was like, I suck in this, like I suck in this, like it's just dead air. I'm like, I went and saw it. I was like, I just missed. This is my worst work. This is my worst work ever. This is my worst work ever. And then 40 years later, I watched it with someone. I went, no, no. The director, Dan O'Banna, saw that I was awkward, not funny, you know, square, trying to fit in, couldn't get the girl. Nothing I said worked. Nothing. And that's exactly what he wanted. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I didn't even know it. I didn't do that
Man.
on purpose. I bricked, I wanted to be brilliant, but I bricked. And that is what he wanted out of Chuck. This guy that just couldn't make it work, couldn't make a charming thing, couldn't drop a line that was attractive, to her. Just never really fun. Like he's a nerd, but it's not like this adorable nerd that you think is really funny. No, no, he's not funny. He's just trying. He's trying
Mm.
too hard. It's not going to
Yeah.
work out for him. And so that like kind of brought a sympathy to all the guys that, you know, like me or like that character that tried but couldn't get what they wanted, like, and so 40 years later, you can look back on it and go, oh, that was epic. That was perfect. That's how
Yeah.
we feel. We're just lucky. We're like, oh, you guys like this? This is great. We didn't know what we were doing.
Have you
But
had
now,
sorry, have you had a phone call about I mean, they're doing a sequel, aren't they? So obviously no one really knows what happened to you because obviously it's just like, hey, we're coming together, and then all of a sudden they're doing like this new film out this year. So, have you
well,
had
look, I just did a day on a movie called Trash's Revenge, and I will be coming to England in October to film like a week on Trash's Revenge, which will be a length, a Return of the Living Dead film.
sweet?
But I just shot like playing a guy named Chuck in the future, you know, it keeps going between future and the past and present. It's like a weird like combination, but the director was so cool, and the script was good, and I was happy to work as an actor. And they called me and said, "Hey, are you available to come film in England? We're going to shoot the rest of it the end of September, October. Let me check my schedule. Yeah, I'll work around your schedule." And I'm like, "Fuck, I got another job. I love it." So yeah, I mean, I've never been asked to be in a sequel of anything. They've
Yeah.
made sequels and franchises out of movies I've been in, but I usually get killed in everything I do. And got a death reel that's pretty fucking good. But they'll just like if someone thinks there's an audience and they might be able to make money, you could raise money through so many, fans raise
Yeah.
get to be in movies now, and they make fan films, which is all new stuff to me, but whatever it takes. I love working. I'm like now I've like finally realized, yeah, actors want to work. I just want to
Yeah.
work. Like if I'll get some scripts, and if I can't think I can do them, I'll be like, I can't do this. Thanks anyway. But
Yeah.
I got the script for Trash's Revenge, and I was like, I can do this. This is fun. This will be fun for me.
Yeah.
So I'm doing
Sweet.
it. I'm in.
Yeah. Awesome. Um,
Yeah.
So I got the sandwich scene, like Leonard Quigley, like the famous scene. Like
Yeah.
she for the rest of the movie, she's not in any clothing whatsoever. So did she get ill at all on that shooting? Because that looked rough for her. I've got to say.
That was rough for her. Yeah. You know, I'm only really at that time just concerned with myself. As an actor, I'm like, it rains on us in the first scene at night.
Yeah.
So every other scene in that movie, we're getting hosed down. Now I've got clothes on that stay wet. She's got nothing on from the waist down, like, and she's naked, and I don't know what was more uncomfortable, but she fucking rocked that. She can go anywhere. Like she nailed that role. And at the time, I was young. I was like, what the fuck is happening? This actress that's in our movie is naked from the bottom down. Like she doesn't have any clothes on. I'd never seen anything like it in my life.
So that
You
was
know,
just purely down to her. She did that off her own back, or was that actually in the script? Or
oh no, it's in the script, but it wasn't. I don't know. They
it was
hid it
just
somehow.
all right.
Like she does a strip tease dance on the tombstone. Like it's funny. I sell the script. I'm gonna look it up. I've got this. I'm gonna bring the script to England, and I'm gonna see if it says she's naked. Wearing a cup down there, but that was just we didn't know. I was like, wait a minute. I didn't know what I was looking at because she had this thing in there that was like she
Yeah,
had to because otherwise it's not rated. It wouldn't be rated. You're looking up at this girl, but there's
yeah.
something missing. She's like a Barbie doll, and it was fucking amazing. She just went for it, and she just won the hearts and minds of thousands of men, and children, like for the
She's
rest
a
of her
badass character. I mean, and
badass character.
she's got to be like a national treasure as well for you guys
Yeah,
because
she is.
she does it a lot, like with numerous films in the past. She's just very comfortable with herself, isn't she? To be fair, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, was it true that Toby Hooper was due to direct, or was that just a load of shit like him and Dan
No,
O'Bannon?
I've heard different swirling rumors, and I don't know the truth of any of them. I don't
No,
know anything. Some people know a lot of specifics about the legalities behind it that Toby Hooper and also that Dan O'Bannon got into with the guy that wrote the Return of the Living, Dawn of the Dead stuff. Romero and someone else. Like, but all I know is Dan O'Bannon is a brilliant writer
yeah,
and he's an artist. He's put together some images that are just iconic, right? So he directed us in this movie, and he knew what he wanted, and we didn't. And he was a puppet master, and even if it came out different than he wanted, I don't even think he wanted it to be as funny and comedic as it was,
really.
but it was. The audience found great humor, and people were like, "No, it's a comedy." Like whatever happened, that's a beautiful accident. You can't plan a cult movie,
No,
it's
of
got
course.
this accidental brilliance to it that people are working against each other's ideas of what should be this and what should be that, and all of a sudden, and the mix makes it like, fuck, look how fucking that's funny, or that's really disturbing, like. So, like, I credit that whole thing to Dan O'Bannon.
Yeah,
It's
man.
O'Bannon's masterpiece.
No, that's yeah, totally there. And like I was going to say, there's not many horror comedies out there that just get everything right. And knowing that now, you're saying it weren't even intentional. Like, I mean, that's even because like around that period, like Fright Night and numerous others, it was just you get that right mix of like, actually, this is quite scary, but that's piss funny as well at the same time. That's up there as one of the greats. So like, like that's off to you guys, absolute cult classic. So awesome.
Lucky, we got lucky, yeah.
And just going into Tombstone,
Oh,
I've got to mention Tombstone because again, you've worked on some amazing like assemble movies. Like how much testosterone was in that film? Because like watching it, I didn't even feel like I shouldn't be allowed to watch this because I'm not manly enough to
right.
even watch this movie.
Yeah,
Like
me neither.
that is just an insane cast that were involved in Tombstone. Was it
Insane.
was it quite intimidating with because there's a lot of like big personalities there, weren't it?
Yeah. By the time when I got Tombstone, I got offered that part. I didn't have to audition for it.
Awesome.
I must suck at auditioning, but I got offered that part. I read it and I was like, oh, I, I can do this, I can do this part, because I get my ass kicked, and I mouth off to some guy and he kicks my ass, and then I
Yeah.
get kicked.
Like
But I'm
Kurt
like,
Russell twats you on the face with his gun, don't he?
yeah, yeah. But I love riding horses and I love shooting guns, and I went out to the desert, and at the table read with Kevin Jarre, it came around and Val's there and Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton. I knew Sam Elliott. So if you know Sam Elliott and he likes you, you're cool.
Sweet. He's a
And
cool
Sam and
guy.
I were friends. I look around the room and Sam and I were friends. Like, and he's like, "Hey, John,"
Awesome.
and he liked me, and I love, I idolized him, right? But
Yeah.
I kept my cool around him because I'd known him for a long time, for like 10, and so that was my fucking in. I'm like, oh, Sam, Sam likes me. Sam's
That's
got my
awesome.
back. So, and he tried to help me in it too. God, he's so good, but I guess I get to play a little lippy guy, like who doesn't survive again, gets killed and stuff. So I didn't have a problem. At table read, I read a big line that I had in that movie, and everybody cracked up. And I went, I've got it. They think it's fucking funny, and I want it to be funny.
Yeah.
By the time it was a different director, that director got fired. It's a different script. I still have that line, but the director didn't want it to be funny.
All
You
right.
know, like God, like I mean, that's too bad, because this is good. This is good as funny. The movie needs some fucking comedy. It needs something light. It needs
Yeah.
someone's got to relax for a second. There's so much macho testosterone. You know what? I felt that movie had so much testosterone on that set that I would like try to go the other way. I remember
Yeah.
being a provocateur, like going, yeah, I don't need to worry about it because I know I'm a stud. I'm fucking gnarly. I'm in Point Break. I actually do, shoot guns and shit. I don't need to act tough,
Yeah.
you know. Because I am tough, but you guys are acting tough, and I'm gonna act like, a punk. Smoke this cigar like I'm sucking a dick. Everybody's gonna see me doing it, and everyone's gonna get excited,
Yeah.
whether they want to or not, because they're getting their dick sucked by this actor who they thought was a fucking gnarly guy. Sam Elliott said that guy was fucking gnarly, man. He's sucking that cigar like it's a cock. 15 minutes on stage. Doesn't he know that everybody can see him? I'm like, yeah, I know. That's
Yeah,
why
man.
I'm doing it. And so I was a provocateur. So, but no, I didn't have any problem with like Val or Sam or Kurt Russell became a dear friend of mine afterwards, and still is. I love that guy and his whole family.
Oh,
He's an
mate.
icon. I just loved him. And
Yeah.
so like, yeah, I was like, it was another one of those things where like, yeah, I'm gonna come at this from a different place. You guys are all got mustaches. I'm not gonna have a mustache. I'm not gonna fucking try to be tough.
Yeah, man.
Because
Because
I
that.
can't compete with Robert Burke,
Oh,
like,
mate.
or Stephen Lang or Powers
Stephen
Booth.
Lang, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it
mean,
is.
Charlton Heston. What am I going to try to pretend I'm tough? I'm not. Like, I am for real, but I'm not going to pretend I'm tough. Those guys, Michael Bain, give me a fucking break. These guys are legend, iconic, gnarly. Sam Elliott, Kurt Russell, Billy
Fuck
Bob
yeah.
Thornton. I like Billy Bob's take on it, like he's the man and he gets to play this guy and he plays it so well of just getting humiliated, like I was like, that guy's a good actor, I wanted to tap into some of that shit. But you're limited by your role in the director and I tried to give the director what he wanted. That director, Cosmatos ended up, that movie did great, you
Yeah.
know, because it's a great story, because the writer Kevin Jarre cast great actors to play a great story. But he got fired, and the guy that came in, Cosmatos, is an action film director. He would look around at our set, literally say, "There's too many actors in this movie." You
Fucking
know,
is. Yeah.
there's too many actors in this movie. He just wants one star and a bad guy. Like that's what he wants: a villain, good, and that's a limited way, but you know what, that movie worked, and it worked better than the emotional, like, complicated Wyatt Earp, Kevin Costner fiasco. Not that those guys are bad actors, and or that was a bad story. It's just didn't work. Like our movie was better. We
Yeah.
were simple and beautiful. Val, you can't do better than Val Kilmer in that. No one can do better than
Mate.
Val Kilmer did in that movie.
Yeah.
And Kurt Russell is perfectly cast, right? You know, his son
Yeah.
is quiet. I mean, he's fucking the man, you know, the iconic guy. But he's a libertarian. I mean, he's brilliant for that role because, you know, he doesn't kowtow to what other people think he should be as a Hollywood actor, movie star, you know. He's a
Yeah.
libertarian, man. That guy's got a bear, you know, like he's done the real, you know, he doesn't care what anybody else thinks about him, you know, and that came in handy to play Wyatt Earp's like a greedy shit, you know. Huck's like fucking killer, man. He just wants what he wants, you know. And those guys were, in my opinion, villains, and we were good. But that's just not, and by we, I mean the Cowboys were just is trying to, this is our town, you know, like those guys came in and murdered us.
Yeah, it must have
And
been like a dream for you, like you say, growing up with, like say, with go to video shop. You know, if you've gone from like fighting zombies to now being cowboy and stuff, you're being a bank robber. You know, so it's like you've done some iconic shit, haven't you? So looking back, you must be like, yeah, well, I'm fucking well chuffed with our career. Like, you know, you're one of these
yeah,
great actors.
it took me, I went through a very dark and awkward stage after that, you know, like when I wasn't getting movies like that caliber, and I just kind of stopped, you know, working, you know, and slid into this depression actually, you know, and I didn't realize how lucky I was and how grateful I should be. And I kind
Yeah,
of became this bitter, like unknown, you know, dare, you know, it's a classic Hollywood story, sliding into drug abuse and like just quitting your career, you know, like not being grateful and just being angry and bitter. And that happened to me. You know, I'd see it happen to others, and then it happened to me, and I couldn't get out of it for a long time. When I finally came to, you know, I realized how lucky I was to be able to be part of that ensemble. You know, lucky to be in Point Break, lucky to be in all these movies, even Children of the Corn and Return of the Living Dead, which I had no fuck clue what I was doing. But
mm,
those movies have come into this, are part of my life now. And I'm so lucky I'm alive to be able to appreciate that experience. You're asking me about things that you know, I forgot about. I spent 20 years of my life. I forgot I was an actor by the time I got
wow,
arrested. I got arrested for being drunk, you know, and on drugs. And, you know, I had a gun, and I had to go to jail, and I'm in LA
right,
County jail. I'm scared to death. I'm fucking alone, and I've ruined my life. I've lost everything. And this guy said, "You have a visitor," and I had to go see this guy who's also been arrested, spent a lot of time in jail. He was also a derelict drug addict like me. A great guy though. His name's Phil Takahashi. He's sober now and he's a surfer. And he came to visit me in jail. And I'm like, Phil, I mean, I thought I'd been abandoned by the world. I go, how did you know I was in here? And he goes, it's on TMZ.
wow,
And I was like, I literally was so out of it. I'm like, TMZ, what is that? He goes, doesn't matter. It's your arrest was on TMZ, so that's how I knew you were here. I made a mental note
wow,
when I got out. I looked up what TMZ was, and the fact that I got on TMZ because I used to be an actor. And when actors get
wow,
arrested, the cops, the sheriffs, you know, they sell that information to TMZ. And I got an actor that was in Point Break and Tombstone and North Shore, and he's, you know, arrested for gunplay, you know, in the Palisades. And I'm like, when I got out, I was like, oh, I'm going to be an actor. I want TMZ because I was an actor. I literally would forget, you know. You know, but now it's part of my identity. Like I'm totally aware I was an actor, and I can't forget it because I go to conventions I'm grateful I was an actor. I thought I had a really lucky, good run in the 80s and 90s, and now I get to dabble in it again, and I'm just so grateful. But there was a time when I'm like, this is over. I'm a failure. I'm a failure as an actor. But then when you get on TMZ, you realize you're not that much of a failure if you're on TMZ.
no, man. You're looking back on your career and stuff. I mean, like those early days, those minutes. I mean, you've been part of some cult films, man. Like you know, so
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
you can like you know walk back with your head held high with all that
Hey.
stuff. Yeah. So yeah. So you're going into your comic cons, like so. I mean, we're going to be actually at the Sheffield one ourselves. Like, so two of my other friends, we're going to be there. It'd be great to just like shake your hand. Like, I've got a crafty T-shirt if you fancy it, a VHS Bis T-shirt. Like,
I
yeah.
want
So
one. I
Yeah,
like
so,
that sweatshirt you're wearing right there. A crafty
yeah.
t-shirt. I love black. I'm a
I've got
size
it.
large. I fucking
Sorry,
want it.
I've got it on
Holy
fire.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, so that's how.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you must come by. I want one. I can't wait to see you there. I want
I actually have a t-shirt in a
or a t-shirt.
large. Yeah. So
Okay.
we're going straight to you. We're going to hand you the t-shirt, because it'd be great to meet you in person, man. Like, because
Oh yeah.
you're a true legend of that period, and like, like, so your career speaks for itself. So all I can say is just, can't thank you enough for this opportunity to talk to you, and being our first episode with the VHS icons, man. Like, so there you go.
I'm lucky to be on this interview, man. You're very smart, man. That was a great trip down memory lane. Thanks for taking me there.
I know, like, yeah, this is what it's all about. You see, because some of these films deserve more recognition. I think, like I say, they seem. I think it don't help with how things are streaming now. Like, collecting physical media, like, is massive. Where, like, streaming now, you can't get rights to films and that, and then they kind of just disappear. And it's sacrilege, really, for some of these
Yeah.
films that we spoke about today. They need to be seen. So all I can say is, John Philbin, like, just thank you. Yeah, thanks
Oh,
for this
thank you.
opportunity. Yeah.
Thank
So
you. That was really fun. Man, I
yeah,
lost
man.
myself. I'm sorry, I babbled a lot, but I lost myself. That
No,
was
that's what you want. Yeah, I want to hear this shit. Yeah,
got
this
it.
is awesome. So, oh mate, can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Pleasure.